Welcome to this explainer where we are going to master the absolute perfect angle for Cambridge AS and A-level Information Technology 9626. I want you to think about a master photographer for a second. When a professional photographer takes a portrait, they don't just point the camera and click. No, they frame their subject deliberately. They adjust the lighting to highlight the most absolutely crucial details, and they physically position themselves to completely eliminate any background distractions. Well, top-tier computer science students, they do the exact same thing with their exam answers. They know exactly how to frame their response to highlight the key evidence the examiner is desperately looking for. Today, we're zooming in on a highly weighted topic, utility software. More specifically, we're looking at Section 2.3, which covers file management systems and disk management systems. Our goal today is simple. We're going to find your perfect angle for Paper 2. We're going to eliminate all the noise, cut out the fluff, and focus purely on what Cambridge examiners are actually hunting for when they have their red pens out grading your responses.
So let's talk numbers, because this is a big one. Did you know that topic 2.3, file management systems and disk management systems, accounts for approximately 15% of your total marks in Paper 2? Think about that for a moment. 15% is not just some minor throwaway detail. That right there is literally the difference between two entire grade boundaries. You could jump from a C to an A just by mastering this one specific area. Now, the conceptual framework for this topic relies heavily on established principles of systematic analysis and evidence-based reasoning. Here's the thing you have to understand. Cambridge isn't just looking to see if you can memorize and regurgitate the definition of a file management system. Anyone can do that. They are rigorously testing whether you possess a deeply connected conceptual understanding of the software and, more importantly, whether you can transfer that understanding to completely unfamiliar real-world business contexts. Securing this massive 15% requires a rock-solid mastery of fundamental principles, hyper-precise definitions, and an intuitive understanding of the causal relationships within utility software. It's like a giant puzzle, and we're going to put the pieces together.
Okay, here is our game plan for today. Let's just quickly scan this agenda so you know exactly how we're going to secure those marks and avoid the brutal traps that catch out so many students year after year. We'll start with the challenge, then reveal the core strategy. After that, we'll do a live transformation of some terrible answers, jump into an interactive workshop, and wrap it all up with the final success system. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the challenge. This is exactly where candidates bleed marks on the exam paper, and it almost always comes down to interpreting complex data. Let's look at what's actually going wrong. Okay, I want you to look closely at these two flawed approaches. These are inspired by actual responses from a real Cambridge past paper, code 0417. Let's look at Alex's approach first. Now, Alex is the kind of student who clearly studied hard, but he simply dumps raw computer science facts onto the page. He wrote this massive textbook-perfect paragraph about how a disk defragmenter reorganizes non-contiguous sectors into contiguous blocks to speed up read and write access. Sounds great, right? But he offers absolutely zero analysis of how this technical process actually benefits the specific business mentioned in the prompt. He completely missed the context. Now, on the other hand, we have Sam. Sam's problem is different. Sam is rushing against the clock, and he completely ignores the command word requirements. The prompt explicitly asked him to evaluate the use of a file management system. And what does Sam do? He just gives a super basic bulleted description of folder directories. He's describing, not evaluating. The assessment objectives for this syllabus target distinct cognitive domains: knowledge, application, and analysis. Alex gave us knowledge without any application. Sam gave us knowledge but completely skipped the analysis. And the result? Both of them bled massive avoidable marks. Don't be Alex, and don't be Sam. So how do we avoid their mistakes? That brings us to Section 2, the strategy reveal. It all starts with decoding the command words. Let's look at the framework. If you look at the top students, the ones consistently pulling A stars, they all structure their answers using the PEEL framework. This ensures systematic processing and incredibly clear, evidence-based reasoning. PEEL stands for point, evidence, explanation, and link. Let's break this down because it's an absolute game changer. First, you have to make your main point. For example, you read the scenario and explicitly identify that a disk formatter is the required utility. Boom, point made. Next, you provide evidence directly from the text. You can't just guess. You might write, the scenario states the new hard drive is unreadable by the operating system. That's your evidence. Then comes the explanation. This is where you flex your technical muscles. You detail the technical architecture, explaining how the formatter utility prepares the disk by creating a file system like NTFS or FAT32, dividing the disk into logical tracks and sectors. And finally, and this is the absolute most important part that everyone forgets, the link. You literally link your technical explanation right back to the original business scenario, proving to the examiner that you understand the cross-topic connections. The principal examiner reports highlight time and time again that the link is what unlocks those highest analytical bands. So let's put this to the test with a quick interactive challenge. I want you to spot the peel structure here. Think back to Alex and Sam. Take a few seconds and try to figure out which elements of the peel framework were totally missing from their answers. Just visualize their answers in your head. Alex definitely had the point and the explanation, right? But he entirely lacked the evidence from the prompt and the link to the scenario. Sam barely even had a point. If you don't use peel to evaluate the evidence quality, identifying limitations, checking the assumptions made in the prompt, and offering alternative interpretations, you simply cannot and will not reach the top marks. Before we continue, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acetheexams_IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon right now. All right, moving on to Section 3, the transformation. We are going to take those red pen mistakes and turn them into beautiful green check marks. Let's see how it's done. To transform our answers, we have to listen to the people grading them. This slide brilliantly illustrates exactly where marks are vanishing. These are the top 3 blaring red light warnings pulled directly from Cambridge Principal Examiner reports regarding topic 2.3. Warning number 1, confusing cause and effect. This happens all the time. Candidates will confidently write down that a disk defragmenter creates more total storage space on a hard drive. Guys, that is factually 100% incorrect. A defragmenter groups fragmented files into contiguous sectors to improve read and write speeds. It doesn't just magically conjure up new gigabytes of free space. Warning number 2, forgetting format and presentation. The presentation of information in this syllabus follows very strict conventions. If a question asks for a specific format and you ignore proper headings, correct terminology, appropriate file formats, and clear annotation, you are literally just throwing marks out the window. And warning number 3, generic answers lacking specific context. As we saw with Alex, this is the deadliest, most common trap of all. Let me show you exactly what that context trap looks like in practice. Notice the difference between these two statements. The generic answer says, disk management systems organize data. Well, yeah, they do. But that gets 0 marks for application. It's too vague. Now look at the context-specific answer. In the given scenario, the disk defragmenter reorganizes the company's fragmented database to improve retrieval times. Do you see the difference? It names the specific utility, the defragmenter. It names the specific business element, the fragmented database. And it gives the specific benefit, improved retrieval times. That is the peel framework in action. Stop scrolling. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acetheexams_IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations. We've helped thousands of students improve by 2-3 grade boundaries. Join them right now by subscribing to @acetheexams_IGCSE and turn on all notifications so you never miss our weekly exam strategy sessions. Awesome. Let's move into Section 4, the interactive workshop. It's time to roll up our sleeves, deconstruct the prompts, solve the problems, and evaluate our findings together. The absolute most crucial point of this entire explainer is mastering this specific problem-solving loop. You have to internalize this, deconstruct, solve, and evaluate. When you step into that exam hall, you need to be thinking like a machine. Top-scoring candidates constantly demonstrate this kind of evaluative thinking. First, they deconstruct. They read the massive wall of text in the prompt, identify the actual given information, and break it down into logical, bite-sized steps. Second, they solve. They execute their answers systematically, using comparative connectives like whereas or in contrast to. And third, they evaluate. They read over their conclusion and check for reasonableness. They ask themselves, does this actually make sense for this specific business? Have I questioned the assumptions? Have I considered different perspectives? You have to make justified recommendations backed by solid, undeniable evidence. Okay, we're putting 60 seconds on the clock. I want you to take a really quick, focused look at this complex data table. It compares file management capabilities against disk management capabilities across 3 totally distinct business scenarios. As you scan through the rows and columns, I want you to try and extract the core trend regarding how presentation formats and utility choices change based entirely on the user's scenario.
Notice anything interesting? Look closely at the file compression utility. Do you see how its application behaves completely differently in a high-end graphic design firm versus a text-based administrative legal office? Think about it. The graphic design firm is dealing with massive, high-resolution image files. They absolutely require lossless compression utilities because they cannot afford to lose a single pixel of quality. But the legal office? They're just archiving old text documents. They can easily utilize lossy compression to save maximum server space without any real negative impact. What similarities and differences can you spot here? This kind of comparative analysis requires identifying both sides, using those comparative connectives we talked about, supporting each comparison with evidence directly from the table, and drawing smart conclusions about relative importance. Frame your thoughts around those crucial distinctions.
So what is the key takeaway from that exercise? It's right here on the screen. Context is the ultimate mark winner. If you looked at that table and your only thought was, well, file compression just reduces file size, then I'm sorry, but you fell face first into the classic mistake trap. If, however, you noticed that the graphic design firm needs lossless compression while the legal office relies on lossy compression, then congratulations, you are thinking exactly like an A-star candidate. You have to constantly remind yourself, almost like a mantra, always, always, always link every single point you make right back to the specific scenario provided in the exam.
All right, it's time to truly apply what we've learned. We're doing a speed writing challenge. You have 30 seconds to mentally construct, or even better, jot down on a piece of paper one absolutely flawless peel paragraph. Let's use a backup utility as our topic. Go. Start thinking. Make your point first. Maybe you want to talk about the difference between incremental backups and full backups. Now provide evidence from a hypothetical business. Let's say it's a high-volume, 24/7 e-commerce transaction business. Got it? Okay, now for the explanation. Explain the actual technical mechanics. How does the backup software work? Well, an incremental backup saves only the files that have been modified since the last backup, right? It relies on archive flags in the file allocation table or folder directory. And finally, bring it home with the link. Link it directly to the e-commerce business's critical need to minimize server downtime and ensure quick data recovery during peak shopping hours. That level of connected, systematic processing is exactly what elevates your script from just being average to being truly exceptional. We're in the home stretch now. Section 5, the final system. This is your ultimate success blueprint. Let's lock it in. To really conquer this exam, you have to understand the method mark strategy. This is a total paradigm shift for a lot of students. Earning marks isn't just about getting the final answer perfectly right. Examiners actively award method marks for the procedural framework you use. They are grading how you extract the data, how you logically apply the principles, and how you format your final presentation. Believe it or not, it is entirely possible to get the final answer slightly wrong, but still pick up the vast majority of the marks because your systematic processing was absolutely flawless. The examiner desperately wants to see your clear, logical working. They want to see that you verified your results, and they are actively scanning your script for precise technical terminology. If you aren't using words like contiguous, sectors, root directory, file allocation table, or lossless compression, you aren't speaking their language. When you use this specific vocabulary within the proper PL analytical framework, you are virtually guaranteed to pick up those method marks.
And here it is, the complete 9626 success blueprint fully realized. If you follow these 3 rules, you are guaranteeing yourself top marks. Rule number 1, command word decoding. Don't write a single word until you know if you are describing, analyzing, or evaluating. Rule number 2, PL framework application. Point, evidence, explanation, link, every single time. And rule number 3, the time management matrix, paired with contextual linking. Don't rush like Sam, and never drop raw facts without context like Alex. Students who implement these computer science strategies see an average improvement of 2 grade boundaries, but only if they practice consistently with our weekly videos. You have to actively practice mapping the theoretical architecture of utility software to unfamiliar curveball contexts over and over until it just becomes second nature.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As you prepare for paper 2, I want you to ask yourself this one simple question. Are your conclusions supported by contextual evidence and evaluated for their limitations? Every single time you finish a practice paper, look at your answers and ask yourself that question. Did you just dump facts on the page? Or did you actually analyze the limitations and explore alternatives? Keep that framework in mind and you will absolutely crush this topic. Here's your final reminder. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acetheexams_IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Subscribe right now to at acetheexams_IGCSE and click that bell.
Don't let another exam pass you by. Drop a comment below with your target grade for computer science and the biggest challenge you're facing. Our team responds to every comment. Like and share this video with a study partner. Ace the exams. Your Cambridge success starts here.